Hey, I'm Mike Acosta from ADSR Sounds, and we're back with Enrique from Novation. And in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the tight integration with hardware using the CV and gate in the all-new 61 SL MkIII. So obviously, we couldn't cover it in the first look, the overview, because we're just giving you kind of an overview of what the SL does. But in this one, we're definitely going to go a bit deeper in using the CV gate functions and the sequencer and how it integrates nicely with external hardware. So, Enrique, you ready?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Let's get started.
What's up, guys? My name's Enrique from Novation, and this is going to be a video focused more on the SL MkIII's hardware integration. In case you missed it and haven't seen the overview, go ahead, check that out. But if you have, yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Basically, what the SL has to really integrate this well with the hardware setup is you have two CV gate mod outputs, an analog clock output, two MIDI outputs, a MIDI input. The second output of that MIDI can also serve as a through, just in case this is within the chain of events of a whole, MIDI setup, hardware setup, or it can be the source of it with two separate MIDI outputs. And with those two MIDI outputs, you can actually assign the 8 tracks to either output A, output B, or both, and all the way from 1 to 16 channels. So technically and effectively giving you 32 different synths that you can control from SL in one spot. After that, you of course got your USB out port to receive and send clock to a DAW or receive it from a DAW. And yeah, the integration with this with hardware is insane. You have an 8-track sequencer, fully standalone, does not need a laptop, but you can totally work well with it. And within each of the 8 tracks, you have 8 patterns. Each pattern is 16 steps. You can tie those patterns together, again, giving you longer than just 16 steps or a single bar pattern. You can have up to 8 bar patterns at a time. Within there, you also have your sessions, giving you up to 64 different songs that you can save using just the SL standalone sequencer. So when we switch over to the hardware side of things, we got the 8 long throw faders, 16 buttons, 8 endless encoders with 2 banks, as well as the 16 velocity sensitive pads that can all be assigned using Novation Components website to fully create these templates that you have. But in case you don't got time for that, we got a bunch of stuff already pre-made. Basically, if we go here and I hit Shift, Sessions, it'll take us to our template view. In the template view, you can see we got a bunch of different stuff, both vintage and new, both effects, desktop racks and stuff. And each of these, for example, if we go over to peak and then I go back to steps, you can see now we got our filter, resonance, LFO, a bunch of different things that we can take control of on the peak synthesizer. But in this case, I have the Nova laptop right here, and I also have the O-Coast. The O-Coast I'm going to leave for now, but focusing on the Nova laptop, if we look at the computer, I can switch over to our components website, and this will give me a template editor so I can create and edit my own template for the Nova laptop, and it's super duper simple. So watch this. I'm going to go to faders. Right now my fader 1 is set to delay, but if I go and look at the manual, my delay time is CC 101. So let's say I want to set my second fader to CC 101. All I do is say 101, done, and I can rename that fader to, let's just say, delay time, DLI time. Boom, enter. And then all you got to do is store to SL MkIII. I'm going to go ahead and select template 64, send a template, bam, receiving, and you're good to go. Boom, just like that. If I now move this fader, you'll see that it says delay time, effectively controlling the delay time. You can even see that I got control of my filter cutoff. You can see the feedback right there on the synth instantly happening as soon as I move this. And this goes on and on as far as the editing goes. You could do program changes, CCs, any kind of different messages and whatnot. It gets really, really deep, really, really fast. But let's focus a little bit more on the sequencer side of things. I'm going to go to track 1, which just in this case says MIDI, but that happens to be controlling my drum rack inside of Ableton. The reason I'm using drum rack, just for a simple drum machine, I can find my drums on the keys. Maybe there, right? Hold down this note, place it right there, 4 on the floor beat inside of the sequencer. Press play. So right now, the SL sequencer is controlling and playing my drum rack. I can find some more sounds. Right? Just hit record. Easy. So now let's go over to the Nova laptop. Turn on my filter cutoff because I turned it down here. give it some delay. Change the delay time. But check this out. One of my favorite features about the SL MkIII are zones. You can effectively split the keyboard up into 8 zones. If I hit zones, I only have zone 1 and 2 currently activated. You can see it here kind of jumping back and forth. If I turn on zones, shift on, zone 1 is set to destination 5, which is the O Coast. Zone 2 is set to destination 6, which is the Nova laptop. So now when I go back with zones turned on, you can see that the keyboard is now split down the middle. I got my O Coast on this side, right? And then I got the Nova laptop on this side. So while my drums are playing, I can actually record both of these things in at the same time into 2 separate tracks of their respective sequencers, basically. So I'm going to go into patterns and go and look for the green section, green and peach, which is basically the O Coast and the Nova. I want to give myself a 2-bar pattern for both of those, press play, and then record. And bam, just right there, now I can go and record this side. The cool thing here is I can actually record the automation. So I'm going to go ahead and record the automation of the cutoff on the Nova using the SL sequencer. You can see right there with the feedback on the screen, it's showing the cutoff actually move. So now let's take this a step further, right? I'm going to go to patterns again, and looking at our 2 patterns for the O Coast, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that pattern from here to here. And it's just going to be the first part of the pattern. So focusing on just that, I'm going to press play. You know what? Let's start a new pattern. I'm going to go ahead, hold down clear that out, and turn on the arpeggiator. So now that the arpeggiator is on, I can click the arpeggiator menu to see and set some settings. Right now it's set to part 5, which is the O Coast. I can change its type, maybe down. Let's set it to random. How many octaves? Let's do 2. I can even change the gate length, making it a little more plucky. So then watch this. This 16-step sequencer here within the arpeggiator actually allows me to create my own arpeggiated sequence. So right now it's just going straight 16ths. I can take some notes out. I can even change the length. That's kind of cool right there. So now let's hit play, press record, and put in a chord on our monophonic synth, but with the arpeggiator on, and it'll now create a new arpeggiated sequence within that track sequencer. Maybe change the octaves. Back. Now look at our Nova laptop, turn the filter cutoff down. Now let's focus on drum 1. Go to that pattern, right? Right here, MIDI track 1, which is the drum rack. Let's duplicate this pattern. Easily go there. Turn off our zones. Now we're focused here. Find a new sound. Hit record. Easy. So quick, so simple to easily just kind of come up with an idea. Simple as that right here on the standalone piece itself. The greatest part is you easily just hit InControl mode, drop these clips in as MIDI for later use within Ableton, and really just flesh out your ideas.
All right, so obviously there's a lot of really cool features with the MkIII besides the software integration, everything that you just saw with the tight hardware integration using the CV and gate. I think it's really awesome that those features are on an actual MIDI controller, because you don't see that too much, where you have that kind of functionality with sequencers and CV gate integration and that kind of thing, because most MIDI controllers it's just a simple USB connection, and you're tied into your software, and that's about it. So I think it's really great that Novation is taking it a step further to really kind of disconnect from the laptop a bit and really tie in into the hardware and stuff. Obviously, we're seeing a really big a resurgence of a lot of like analog hardware pieces and new hybrid analog digital devices, and I think it's great. I started in the hardware era in the early 90s, so clearly here's my Novation Nova. So I'm definitely really stoked about being able to integrate this kind of controller with all of my hardware pieces and not really having to rely so much on a computer. So anything to tie up, anything that we can see coming, maybe future updates and things that you guys are looking at working?
Yeah, I mean, we got kind of some good notoriety about the updates on circuit and kind of listening to the community, just so no, we're always listening, and not in a creepy way, of course, and we're always open to suggestions and stuff like that. Yeah, we just want to make the best product available for musicians out there.
Awesome. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for coming down and spending some time with us to run us through this. I'm sure all of our viewers really appreciate it. So a huge thanks to the folks over at Novation, Taylor Morgan, who's actually in the back over there working on his laptop. But again, thanks to everybody at Novation for coming down and visiting us here at our Denver office location. Again, my name is Mike Acosta from ADSR Sounds. Don't forget to subscribe below. Hit that subscribe button so that you're constantly up to date with everything and anything ADSR. And I will see you in the next video.